Jimmy. Jimmy. JimJims, son!
Look, Pim, I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
So welcome back to part 2 of the Jaguar rebuild. As you can see, we have a few more things on the floor in front of us. We have the lower control arm, also called the lower wishbone, finally removed. That is in big thanks to a YouTuber who I will see if I can put their little channel here. It's called Jaguar Roman. And no, not like that. Hey, Nico, you want to go bowling, Roman?
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.
But this guy has a Jaguar X-Type, and he gave me some really good advice trying to get this lower control arm out. Without him, I probably would not have been able to remove this lower control arm. So, thank you. That's what YouTube is all about, helping out other car YouTubers. So, again, thank you. Much appreciated. Now let's move on to the image in front of us. We have the lower control arm removed. Notice the spindle is completely missing. I finally got it free of the tie rod end, and the CV axle has been removed as well, because I need all the room in the world to work. I do have the new lower control arm inside the Jaguar. It's in the trunk. I also have the sway bar bushing, and I also have the new strut assembly and all that. So we are going to work on getting all that back together, because it was quite a pain in the ass to get it apart. What you're looking at represents 3 days of clanging and banging with that big old sledgehammer, I guess you want to call it, which I call the equalizer part 2. And boy, did that thing help. Without that, I would not have been able to bungle the... Well, let me show you. See this? This is the actual mount that holds the lower control arm in, and you can see there's some paint missing here because I really had to harangue on this thing. Also, if you notice, there's a bunch of paint scrapage up here because that's how far the bolt had to extend to come out. I actually ruined the bolt completely, so I will have to go get a whole new one. I bungled the threads to the point where they're basically non-existent. I wish this camera would focus, but we have a new camera coming. That's right, the Nikon DSLR is going in the trash because I hate this thing. I have an iPhone 13 coming, and man, I'm excited. You have no idea. Every time I watch one of Randy from Auto Auction Rebuilds videos, I'm just like, I gotta get me one of those new iPhones. So I finally sprung for some new equipment, and hopefully it will be here soon, and we can get up close and personal without this giant hulking camera being in the way constantly. So someone is clearly trying to get a hold of me for repairs. I have a ton of repairs to do. This is just one of my side projects. So let me take care of that, and we will return in a couple of minutes. So yeah, looks like while I was sleeping, the crack miser has visited us and made it ice cold.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. I'm high on crack.
So I'm going to have to pick up on this project another day. Isn't that right, kitty cat? The snow lasted a couple of days and kind of sandbarred some of my plans. I did have to go order some new parts for the suspension. I actually ended up needing a new strut mount as well as a replacement spring because I didn't buy them new, I bought them used, but I definitely needed them because they were both cracked when I took a further look at that. With the time that I did have, I cleaned out the interior on the Jag. Notice how I put the new floor mats in, vacuumed everything up. It looks real nice in here now. I also removed the coin change drawer thingy because it was broken and wouldn't open or close properly. And I put this all back together with some junkyard parts, and now opens and it closes, so that's been fixed. While we wait for those suspension parts, because I have numerous suspension parts that I'm waiting for, we're going to tackle one more thing. You see what it is yet? Do you see? Do you see? Well, upon thinking about it, and against my better judgment, I've decided to tackle replacing this nasty screen. If somebody comes to buy this car, they're going to take one look at that and have a stroke. Especially these cheap asses around here. People expect perfection for no money, and no one's going to buy a car looking like that. So, I managed to source a replacement Toshiba screen for the navigation unit, which was very difficult and was $51. Not that expensive, but the fun part is going to be taking the navigation unit out and completely disassembling it into its component little pieces and sliding the new screen in. So pray for me, because it's a Ford, and I'm hoping I can take it apart without breaking anything further and put it back together and having it all work without some magic electronic mumbo-jumbo getting in my way. So I guess that is the next thing that we will now tackle, is the magic that lives inside this box. I was able to remove the 2 Torx security screws holding the top and bottom pieces on, so 4 in total. I have noticed that these seat heaters are aftermarket. You can actually see where somebody has drilled into the plastic and taken out where the original seat heater buttons are supposed to be, which are these 2. Who knows what's going on there, so I'm sure we're going to have a whole bundle of fun with that. Notice the unit does slide forward now, so we can begin the process of removing it. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do this. You know, I have a small career in repairing electronics in years past, so hopefully some of that comes in handy here, because this is definitely going to be a challenging task. There's the navigation unit completely removed. Just a couple of plugs in the back, which is super easy to get out. In completely typical Ford fashion, these plugs, this red one and this red one, are absolutely identical. So you just have to keep them in order, top and bottom, because if you don't, you will mess them up. That is just another complete typical thing at Ford. I mean, I don't know how else to even say that. Man, people are really trying to get a hold of me. Someone's trying to sell me a Chevy Cavalier, and I don't know how I feel about that. A 98 Cavalier with 200,000 miles. It is only $300, so I can kind of see where he's coming from, but we'll see. We'll see if we meet up later in the day. But the focus is on this nightmare, so I'm going to take this inside to my room and slash office and take it apart there, because I don't want to do it in this sweltering heat. This is too much for me. Here we are in my room slash office now. You can see the computer that I log all the dealership information on is over there. I have a bunch of random stuff I collect in the background, like PS2s, PS2 games, DVD collections, all that crap. You can just look around for yourself and see. But the main event is this navigation system here. I'm going to attempt to fix it without letting the smoke out of the box, you know, the magic smoke. We don't want to let the genie go. The genie is how we make our wishes, our little digital wishes. So hopefully I can take this thing apart and reassemble it without destroying it. So fingers crossed. I did have to remove the lower CD unit, which is separate. That way I could get to the two tabs that are under here. There's also a tab on either side. 2 Phillips head screws on top. You can actually see how there's 2 screw holes where the screws go in on the side, so there's 6 total. And there's also these 4 Allen head bolts that hold all of it together like a sandwich, along with this unit here that's for the hazard lights. So all that had to come out just so I can get to the main shell. Hopefully now I can pull away at this exterior face and it will just pop loose. So lucky me, I did manage to pop this little screen off without breaking anything. There are 2 electronic connectors here that you are going to have to be careful of removing before you remove the fascia. And the whole thing is basically a giant circuit board of evil, so just be careful when you're prying it off. Next thing I have to do is, you can see there's a Phillips head screw right there. There's another one right there, and there's 2 more on top that you can't see. I'm going to try to show you. Those have to come off next. And then I have to reverse the whole unit around and take 4 Phillips head screws from the back so this entire piece will pop out. The screen is actually free now. As you can see, it does come up, but there are wires that go back into the unit we have to be very careful of. I'm going to have to flip the unit around and remove this guard to actually properly unplug it. So let's get to that. It's kind of hard to see, but the 2 halves of this unit have been opened, and here are the 2 plugs that you have to unplug to get the screen down here to actually lower itself out. So I am going to have to very carefully check which plug is which, because again, in true Ford fashion, they are completely identical, and you'll have to mark each one. So I'm going to remove these 2 and the screen should come free. We were successful in removing the damaged old screen, so now I have to match up the wires and attempt to put the new one in. There's also a ribbon connector here, so don't forget that. The new screen is in. I'm not quite sure they designed it to be reinstalled. That was quite an ordeal. You could definitely tell the hardest part was this ribbon cable here. You have to flex it a very certain way to get the little pins to slide in just right. So hopefully when we put everything back together, we have a working screen. Whether or not it's locked, who knows? May have to call Jaguar themselves. There's a dealership here, luckily, so we will see. Now I just have to reinstall this front fascia or bezel, whatever you'd like to call it. There she is, all back together. So hopefully when we plug it in and everything boots up, there isn't some kind of giant locked screen there. We can only hope, right? That was quite a ordeal, and I didn't think I'd actually be able to do it, but we did it. So let's go put it back in the car. It's all back together now, except for the change drawer, which I'll put in a second. Before I do any more, I want to verify that the screen actually works. I'd say we have about a 50-50 chance right now of this actually working. So let's take the key, put it in the ignition, turn the ignition over. Oh, ho, ho. Come on now. Come on. Oh, shit. Oh, no way. Does the fan work? Fan speed and everything? It works. Better turn that off before I get copyright struck, but damn, that really improves the look of the vehicle on the inside. I'm thrilled about that. Honestly, I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but for the $50 I spent for the replacement screen, I'm a happy camper right now. I could not be any happier. That That made my day. So, damn. So happy about that. Now that the interior is, you know, mostly finished, I don't really think there's anything else we have to do in here. I guess what we'll do is move on to the suspension components, because a couple of things have shown up that I was waiting for, like the strut mount and all that. So let's move on to the suspension. There's everything back together. We have the working center console piece, the newly fixed navigation unit display that's completely functioning. We also have the car running just for the hell of it. I did see a gearbox fault for just a split second pop up, but then it went away, so I don't know if it just had a previous code in it that it tried to you know, pop up and then realized the part was working, so it went away, or what. We are going to have to clear that check engine light and that ABS light. I do have the new ABS sensor for when we put the side suspension all back together, and the check engine light, I'm not really sure what that's on for. We're going to have to go back through all those codes again. I'm sure it's something, that's for sure. But anyway, let's head on to that suspension now. Finally, everything has arrived for the suspension, about a week and a half late. Shipping is basically a best guesstimate scenario now. The numbers basically mean nothing. I did have a fender on the hook, and unfortunately when I went to go look at it, it was the same color, but it was completely smashed, just as bad as this one. So unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to replace this fender. I haven't been able to find one under $400 that's even the same color. And I've looked and looked and looked. I've already looked at a dozen plus, and unfortunately that's just the way it is. It's probably going to have to stay like that for now. But let's take a look over here at the suspension components. We do have a new and/or replacement spindle from the junkyard. It has all 5 of the lug studs now. The other one had one punched out, and it spins nice and free. On mine, unfortunately, this thing had been pushed out of round by the accident and marred very badly and would not allow the new strut to go in. So I had to get a full replacement for that. There is the new ABS, and when I say new I mean used, ABS connector. It tested good, so we can go ahead and throw that in. There is the other half of the CV shaft that I removed to get everything out of the way. There is the brand new strut and strut mount on a used spring, because the spring was fine, surprisingly. I measured it and the diameter seemed the same as the other one. And then over here we have the brand new lower control arm that is installed. I did put the bolt up through here and the nut on top, that way I wouldn't have the same problem as I did on the other side. So everything's sort of back together. I also have the new sway bar inside, so when I put everything back together, this will be the last piece that goes on. So it's time to start putting everything back together and see how she fits. This is what everything looks like mildly back in place. It's all just sort of set in place for now. Nothing is bolted down. Another issue has popped up that same YouTuber helped me with previously. Remember Jaguar Roman? Well, he was right. As soon as I took tension off everything, the aftermarket bushing began to leak. So it was literally as soon as tension was released onto this little plastic rubber hockey puck, it just started shooting fluid out the bottom of it, and that's probably a bad sign that mount is now compromised. So there's a solid chance I'm gonna have to take this out and return it and get something else, because that's not good. We'll see what we can do about that. I will call the company that sold it to me, Delphi, and see how they want to approach this, because that's ridiculous quality control. You can't even put weight on it without it blowing up. What the fuck? Anyway, let's start putting some other stuff back together. So there it is, mostly finished and put back together. All the ABS connectors, brake lines, pinch bolts, the brake rotor, caliper, everything has been bolted back together. We do have that leak still from that mount. I am going to contact Delphi, like I said, and see if we can get a replacement. But you know how that's going to go. It's going to take a few weeks at the very least. So we'll put everything back together first, see how it rides, and then we'll go from there. So the next thing I got to do is put this tire I have back on. And I did get a 5th lug nut, because if you remember when I got the car, it was missing a stud. So now it'll have all 5 studs and all 5 lug nuts. Well, there's everything back together, and man, was this a pain in my ass. I don't think it could have been any harder, to be honest with you. It's almost like they didn't want you to fix the car. Anyway, we are not going to find that fender. I'm going to try to look for one, but something tells me that we're not finding a fender. So I'll just have to reattach the bumper as bestos I can and, you know, deal with it. But the wheel now sits nice and straight. No longer cocked at a 45-degree angle. Nice and straight. So the next thing is to go inside. I've already cleared the codes, and we're going to start it up. So let's go inside, take a little look-see. That's right, take a little look-see. Look, if it bloated and all that other stuff. So there's the key for you, right? There's the little fabulous. Start her up. As you can see, all the lights come on. Ready? Ready? Go ahead and shut this door, huh? Oh my. Look at that. Beyond some rattly plastic over there that I could give a crap about. Look at that. Ready? Ooh. That's for my seatbelt, obviously, but we don't care about that right now. No more lights. No ABS light. That went off as soon as I replaced the ABS sensor. I didn't even have to clear that code. As soon as I plugged the new one in and put the key in the ignition, it just cleared itself, which was cool. We have the nice fixed radio display, which no longer has scratches. And if you remember, I was complaining about how I didn't like these aftermarket seat heater controls. I did go and purchase the proper seat heater controls to install. That way, everything in the interior is 110%, except for that little rattle over there. I don't know where that's coming from, but we'll figure it out, all right? Look at that. All right. I'm not sure if I'm doing a Cockney accent or what, but look at that. Boy, oh boy, I can't wait to take this thing for a drive. We do still have the hood up, unfortunately, and I'm going to have to take it for an alignment despite the steering being pretty straight, honestly. I'm sure once we get it on the road, it will begin to falter and kilter, so we will see. But man, yeah, boy. Very nice. So let's go do some more fiddling, shall we? So as you can see, there are no more lights on whatsoever. The car is completely back together. The only thing I have to do is replace the seat heater mechanism, but I'm going to take it for its first drive. I have never driven this vehicle, never, ever, ever, ever. This is the very first time that I will be driving it down the road, so I'm going to try to get some footage of that. It's a little difficult because it's very bright out and the white balance on this camera is kind of a piece of junk. But we'll see what I can do. We'll see if the car even makes it down the street without crapping out. Who knows, honestly? I have no idea. I've never driven it, so let's find out. So we did have an ABS light pop back up, so we'll have to see what's going on there, but the vehicle is driving down the road. Steering wheel is a little bit off, not too off considering it impacted a curb. But so far she's doing good. I'm amazed thus far. Got a little bit of a plastic rubbing noise, which is sort of annoying. But the vehicle is driving just fine, actually. No weird noises, other than the plastic rattling. If only this camera could focus, huh? Well, there you go. I'm actually kind of impressed. Those little plastic noises are quite irritating. I always hate Fords, the way they rattle. But yeah. Sorry, I'm not talking too much. I'm just kind of flabbergasted that the car is actually moving underneath its own power for the first time. I've never actually driven this car or seen it drive, so I'm just happy that I've been gifted and blessed enough to be able to actually drive the vehicle. Turn down here. Don't want to go on any main roads just yet, in case the car decides it wants to crap out, because you know how these get. So yeah, no other issues have occurred thus far while driving. In a second, when we get past this little area where the cops like to hang out, I will floor it and see what it's going to do. Not bad. Should probably slow down a little bit though. It honestly rides pretty smooth. There's nothing really that's annoying, like it goes over bumps nicely. Steering definitely needs an alignment. You can see I'm going straight right now, and that's where the steering wheel is cocked at. Well, we've driven it around a little bit, and beyond the ABS light coming on, nothing has gone wrong at all. Air conditioning is ice cold, which is awesome. It drinks fuel like an absolute monster, so there's that. I've taken it here to my local spray place. As you can see, we're at one of those, I don't know what you call it, like self-service spray wash stations, and we are going to get a nice car wash for this ugly, ugly thing. So, let's go ahead and put it in park, and then we can wash her up. Well, it came out better than I thought it was going to. Obviously, I did not fix the dent over here. There's nothing much that I can do about that. Can't find a fender, but it definitely came out looking much better than I expected. So I guess I'll drive it around for a while, and I really don't know what I'm gonna do with it, to be honest with you. So like I said, let's get on home, and I will tally up those numbers for you. So now's the part of the video where we talk about prices. I went ahead and sat down in my Toyota Corolla here out of the sunlight, and I have a little list made up that we're gonna talk about right now. We're going to talk about the prices and what it costs to put the Jag back together. So it was $400 for one Jaguar, crunched up, minus a passenger side tire with a little bit of a dent on it. $164 for said tire that was missing. $55 for a throttle body with associated sensors. $27 for a gas pedal, a drive-by-wire gas pedal. $106 for the brand new suspension components from rockauto.com, not a sponsor. $14 for a corner light. $55 for the navigation unit screen. It was all scratched to hell, remember that? Yep. $139 for the spindle, the replacement spindle, and the seat heater buttons, and $96 for an alignment. That brings the total right here to $1,056. That's not that bad for a clean title 2003 Jaguar X-Type with 154,000 miles. Cold air conditioning, runs and drives just fine. It does have a bit of a dent in it, but for the price, I think it made out pretty good. Thank you to all who watch my videos. You know, I read your comments, and I'll put your little names right here because I appreciate every single view you guys give me. It helps pay a little bit of money so I can actually afford doing some stuff. You know, I read all the good comments, I read all the bad comments. Speaking of bad comments, there's another YouTuber who recently called me out. I guess he called me an asshole. I don't really know what he called me, but a little bit of a side note. If you're a YouTuber calling me out and you call what you do a hustle, you're like, oh, I hustle. That means you're a scam artist. It doesn't mean you're a car dealer. It means you scam people, or at the very least, you provide subpar quality vehicles to people that are a little bit scammy, and you do the very least you can to get by to fix that vehicle. You don't fix it correctly. I've watched all your videos, so I know that, okay? So, I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm just going to tell you that he calls what he does a hustle, and he doesn't do it monthly. He does a little more than monthly, but he hustles. So, you know, I was just trying to talk to you and be nice, you know, YouTuber to YouTuber, but if you want to call me out like that and be an asshole, so be it. Let bygones be bygones, let trigons be trigons, let them all be gone. Let them get the hell out of here for all I care. So, you know, thank you to my viewers who do watch me. I really appreciate it. This is the part of the video where if you're not a subscriber and you don't care about my personal life, you can click off because I'm about to talk about some personal stuff, okay? Remember how in a previous video I said my life's going to change? Well, I found out it's not going to change for the better. No, it's going to change for the worse. I know I'm smiling, but I'm avoiding doing that. Avoiding looking like Grumpy Cat, okay? I'm already bald. I don't need to look like a fucking cat. So let's talk about it a little bit, shall we? So prices are going up. Inflation's hitting us all pretty hard. It's really, really hard to find used vehicles of any kind completely smashed. Cars with blown engines are somehow commanding $1,000, and we're talking like 1999 Mazda 626s or something, or a Mazda Millennia with a blown motor, and they're asking $1,000 for it. So it's getting harder to come by vehicles. As a result, I've been selling less and less vehicles, but I'm still outputting the same amount from my dealership every month, which is well over $1,000. Not to mention my slumlord of a landlord. It is a slumlord because he makes me pay for all the repairs on the home, okay? I had a water heater blow out and cost me $1,300 6 months ago, and I had a swamp cooler explode and cost me $800 like 6-7 weeks ago. So he refuses to cover any of that, so that's all coming out of my pocket. Now, I rent, I don't own. That should be coming out of his pocket. That's just completely unethical. So he comes to me and says, hey, I know you've been paying $1,000 a month for this home for the better part of a decade, but I'm going to need another $600-700 a month from you because, you know, money's going up. We could sell this house and make all of, you know, $100,000 plus on there. We can rent it to somebody who has more money than you. So either pony up or get out. So I told him, I just can't afford that, sir. There's nothing I can do about it. So I've been looking for places to rent. I've been looking for other rental properties, and they're all about the same price, unfortunately. Prices are going up in this area of town. So that's kind of out, unfortunately. I need a driveway to work on my cars, and none of the houses that have a driveway are anywhere within reasonable price at the moment. You know, if I put my bills and my dealership and everything together, I'm paying $3,500 a month out of my ass. You know, I'm hemorrhaging out of my anal cavity $3,500 a month. That's a lot to live in El Paso. El Paso isn't even that great, okay? It's like a shithole desert town. That's a lot of money. I have been trying to buy a house. I've saved up enough for a down payment, and every single time I go to make an offer, I get outbid like that, okay? I put an offer on a $165,000 house, and I got bid up to $200,000 in the span of 4 hours. Can you believe that? For a home built in 1954 that it needs a serious amount of work. And that's just how it's been going. My only other option than that is to just be a homeless bum or live in my dealership. And unfortunately, legally, I can't do the last one. And I really don't want to push a shopping cart around in this kind of heat. So it puts me in a precarious situation where something's got to give. Unfortunately, that something has become the car dealership. Unfortunately, I have to give up my dream, and I know for a while that's going to suck. I've been working my whole life to own a car dealership. It's what I wanted to do. But due to the inflation and rising costs and everything, just costs of daily living, I'm going to have to close the car dealership, guys. I'm being dead serious with you. I will continue to repair cars in my own spare time. I will buy them, fix them within the law. You know, within the parameters of the law, I can only buy and fix so many. So we're going to have to work with that. But I will still be bringing you content. I'm not sure what kind of content. I will try my absolute hardest to bring you content. Trust me, I will. But unfortunately, I am going to have to hand in my dealer's license and close the dealership because I'm expending more money than it's really worth. I'm not making enough. The amount of cars that I can purchase right now because of rising car prices just aren't going to cut it. Even if I'm one guy, okay? I'm the mechanic, I'm the car salesman, I am the dealership owner. One guy can't do all that stuff without literally giving himself brain cancer, which is kind of what's happening. It's killing me. So my life's going to change. I'm going to see what direction I'm going to take this in. I'm going to do it day by day. Still going to bring you content. Still got a couple more cars to come, so keep an eye out for those. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and don't take this burden onto your shoulders. This is for me to figure out and for you guys to watch me figure out. So thank you for watching. I always appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.